This is DJ.
And this is Ish.
And this is
Season 6 of
Pero Let Me Tell You.
So we are here sitting outside. It's finally a beautiful Los Angeles day. It was shitty rainy weather last night or yesterday, but I'm glad that it all cleared up because I'm sitting here with homegrown Miami boy, done good, BAFTA nominated. You're the first BAFTA nominee we've ever had on the show, so thank you for giving us that bragging right.
You're welcome.
Alain Mesa. And I think we just had a whole conversation about your name, and I probably said it wrong, but it's all good. Alaguano. Straight from Call of Duty. Oh yeah, thank you so much for joining us, man.
No, of course. Thank you for having me, man. It's a pleasure to be here for sure.
So, I mean, I got to start off by saying, we'll work backwards, right? Like I just mentioned up top, you are BAFTA nominated for your work in Call of Duty. I'm going to make sure I get it right. For work in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Which was 2022's best-selling video game, not in the US, not in the UK, not in Japan, worldwide. So, fucking congrats on that. I mean, because that's a hell of an accomplishment. You were playing Colonel Alejandro Vargas, right?
Yeah.
And you were nominated for a BAFTA. They do. I didn't know that BAFTA even did video game awards. The Brits there and everything.
Yeah.
But what did that feel like? Just to be, I mean, take me through the whole Call of Duty experience if you have to. Yeah. But I mean, dude, that's fucking an accomplishment. For a boy from Miami eating croquetas to being nominated for a British award.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm gonna hire you to do all my introductions because you made me sound like way more of a badass than I am. So thank you.
It's easy when I have good material.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Yeah. So the BAFTA was definitely incredible. I knew that they had a BAFTA video game award ceremony beforehand. Essentially, it is kind of like the video game Oscars, and I knew that one of the other previous actors from the first game had been nominated, as he should have. He was incredible. So I was thinking, man, like that is like the ultimate of what could happen. Like you could essentially get nominated for a BAFTA award from doing this video game. Like, I mean, I remember I was coming from being, you said it, home, croqueta eating, Miami, Cubano, struggling actor, trying to, book work, man. And then I booked that and the possibilities for me just started to go through like a film in my head. And I was like, hey, like I can do this, I can do that. What's with the amount of work that I'm willing to put in, what's the reach on the sky? What's the limit? And it just kept going. And the role just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I just was overwhelmed by the end, man. And I'm still overwhelmed.
Yeah, well, I will tell you, first of all, the limit, there is none. You're the child of immigrants. We are trained that our parents came to this country pa mejorar, pa seguir, pa adelante. And so there's a little bit of pressure in the best way possible, I think, sometimes, where it's just like, all right, no, I'm going to realize their dreams. So there is no limit. Let me just preface that. You got to keep going. So, you hit on something that you said, the role kept growing. Now, again, I would say of all the acting work out there, the one I know least about is actually video game acting. And I think that's probably because in the grand scheme of it all, it's still relatively new. The whole motion capture suits, I'm assuming you went through all that. And what is that? How does one get to that? You know what I mean? Because I'm assuming there's an audition process and all that, but I think they've got to see something in you that says this guy could be pixelated, right? I mean, for lack of a better way of putting it, right?
I think so. I mean, from what I know, from what the director and the writer had told me, is that they saw a certain intensity in my audition that they liked. Certainly the physical features, maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm being too nice to myself. Chiseled chin.
I'm sitting across from you, and there's a little, I'm pulling the collar.
Okay,
it's the chiseled chin and the thick eyebrows. I mean, I see it. That's leading man right there.
Yeah. But aside from that, I think maybe that they also picked up and the animators might have said, hey, this guy has interesting enough features that we can animate, and they're kind of going to give us the type of feel that we want for this character. Essentially, they don't know what they want. That's the thing. I mean,
Really?
They have an idea in mind for the character, but they don't know what that character is going to look like, especially since it's going to be modeled after the actor. So it's kind of one of those things that you get in front of them, and maybe they just see it at that point, or they have some sort of they see a little bit of light, and then once you kind of get in there and show them, hey, this is the rest of the stuff, these are all the rest of the tricks that I have, then it starts to open up for him, and then it becomes something. We met in the middle for sure.
Wow, that it's interesting because I again, speaking to my limited knowledge of auditions, I would think when you audition for a traditional acting gig like film, TV, etc., they already know what the character's kind of going to be and all that. But it sounds like with video game, there's a degree of, we basically have like 3 bullet points that we know where he's got to be a colonel. I'm assuming maybe they came to you and said he's got to be Latino and he's 6 feet tall. Like maybe they just had like some type of very basic, but then it really does come down to the actor, right? I mean, again, just based on how I'm interpreting what you're saying, it's not just a casting, it's you are inhabiting this character in a way that probably other acting roles don't. Would that be accurate?
Yeah. Well, what I can tell you is that I had spent years, again, struggling as an actor and just trying to book mostly voiceover work, really, especially after the pandemic.
I was going to ask you a lot about voiceover because that's another world I don't know anything about.
I really just do. I mean, that's changing. I'm working with a new manager now. We're opening up doors and things are definitely getting better. But since the pandemic, I really just focused on voiceover. And I said, hey, this is, going to help me make some money. What would be the best thing that I can do with voiceover? And I said, well, I want to book like a motion capture role. I want to book a video game role, something that I'm really going to be able to bring out my skill. Because not that you don't do that with voiceover day-to-day stuff, but you do get to, again, create this role from the ground up. I hadn't had that type of freedom since I was, like at New World or at FIU doing theater there, where I would be given a few weeks at a time,
right,
months in this case, to work on this role and build it. And I was like, man, now I really feel like I'm acting. I'm not just doing a 1 or 2 day gig, that I'm using my skill and placing it in something so specific that they want me to do. Now I'm being told, hey, this is the criteria. Like you said, there's certain specifications, but we want to see what you can bring as the actor. And I didn't know. I mean, I was just naive. So I showed up to day 1 of Call of Duty with all these bold choices, thinking, let's hope they let me do all this stuff. I got a weird voice. I got this. I got these ideas that I want to meet in the middle, but I felt like they were so far off, and they weren't. I showed up, and they were like, yeah, keep doing it. We love it.
The worst that could happen is they tell you, no, do it this way. I mean,
however, I had prepared for weeks. So when I showed up, it was kind of, I just had faith, hopefully, that they wouldn't tell me, hey, can you just drop the voice? I'm like, oh my God, you kidding me?
That affects the walk. That affects everything.
Yeah, wait a minute, what? But they didn't, they worked with me and we just built upon that. And then eventually it became, because they kind of like a TV show, they know the story in the very beginning when we start the game, but they will write the scene dependent upon whatever, as we go along. So it became to a point that I would get the scenes back and I'd be like, hey, I'd look at the writer and the director and be like, you guys are writing stuff for me. Like, you definitely, we're meeting somewhere in the middle. And then I feel like a collaborator. And when you are coming from being a struggling actor, working shit jobs, and then you are collaborating with the creators of the biggest game franchise in the world, and you're the lead or one of the leads, you feel great, man. You feel like, hey, these people they're giving me a lot of responsibility and they believe in me. And because I felt that, I really just worked extra hard as if it was going to be the last gig I ever did.
But that makes sense to me because you felt an ownership of it. It wasn't just by the time you finished or were in the middle of it, it wasn't just a role that could have gone to anybody else. It was your role, and you had a part in creating it. I mean, I do want to ask, because obviously just based on the name, your character is Latino, And that's one of the big things that we're all about on this show is representation, making sure that it's authentic and having really just met. I mean, we met briefly at Croqueta Palooza, but I was in the middle of frying chicken and you were in the middle of Nirvana.
I had like 5 croquetas in my mouth. At the time,
eating, yeah, it was a little odd, getting that croqueta spittle off my face when you said hello. But, just from meeting you, though, the one thing I've noticed is, you wear your identity, you wear your Cubanity to crib from Martha Darby on your sleeve. I mean, literally on your bicep. It's like made and date. Like, you can't get more. This is who I am. That's the vibe I get off of you, and I mean that in the biggest complimentary way possible. Did you imbue the character with that, or did they already come to you with the character is this, or was it just a Latin name and then you kind of went, you know what I mean? Like, how did that, expand? How did that progress?
So originally they said this character, one of the specifications I got was that he was, I don't know if the audition, because the audition doesn't say it's Call of Duty, the names are different.
It's
the
all
script
blind.
is a little, yeah, of course, they don't tell you what are you doing. So everything was all different. I think they might have said that he was maybe just Latin, that he was like a Latin American like counter-terrorist specialist, maybe colonel, but that he works in a unit that is one of the only units that works with the Western Hemisphere. So they gave me some specifications like that.
Pero por arribita.
Por arribita, yeah, that's it. That's really it.
Wow, and so all of it is you. That character, like bringing whatever Latino-ness is in, even if it's not to the forefront, right? Because I think that's one of the things people don't realize is you can play a Latino character without showing up and just walking through a door and being like, "Acere," you know what I mean? There are ways to imbue it, and there are choices that you make where it's like, well, it's something as simple as, I apologize, I did not play a game, and I don't think this would come up, but a Latino wouldn't walk into a room and shake hands.
No,
with
maybe.
People, they'd maybe lean in for a hug, or
Yeah.
if it's people, they'd kiss a greeting, right? Sometimes it's things like that you bring to a character that is not overt, but if you know, you know.
Well, also here's the thing though, it's a different, Mexican culture is different from Cuban culture.
Right.
So it's, aside from just doing the act, like doing a different accent or a different way of sounding and a different rhythm and tone and voice, it's a different way of thinking. It's a different way of upbringing, and it's all of that. So that was something that I definitely kept in mind. I was as specific as I could be with saying, hey, this is a Mexican
Right,
colonel.
character. Yeah.
He's not Cuban. We do
Right.
things completely different. We're Caribeños, but there definitely is a sense of swagger and just straight up cojones that I felt like I wanted to bring to the character so that every Latino can say, yo, that's my hero that represents me as a Latino. Right. And I do, man. And I'm so humbled every time because I hear from Mexicans, but I hear from people from all over, from the Caribbean, from South America, Central America. I hear even from Brazil. I mean, I hear people who are saying, yo, you gave us that hero that we were wondering where the hell they were. People who have been playing this franchise since they were younger. You have, guys who are coming up to me in their mid-20s, 30s and saying, yo, man, I always wondered why the hell there was just all these Scottish guys and all these English guys who were badass.
But why were they only Scottish or British?
But where's the Spanish-speaking guy? Where's the guy, because, hell, we know, Latinos know. Yeah. Latinos do things a little better than everybody else.
It's not a brag when it's truth.
Come on, bro.
It's not a brag when it's the truth.
So the Latinos knew that. I knew that, and we all felt it, and I'm so honored and humbled that I get to be that guy for them.
Yeah, no, and hell, it paid off, and I mean, again, you were nominated for an Oscar of video games. That definitely shows you've made the right choices in your performance. Wanted to shift gears a little bit because like I said, we're kind of gonna go a little backwards. You also mentioned that you do a lot of voiceover. I know you recently, I think your most recent voiceover credit was with Bleach. At least per IMDb. That could be completely wrong, as I have learned many interviews now where I bring up people's Wikipedia and shit, and they'll be like, that wasn't me. That was, and I'll be like,
the name of the show is Clorox. Get it straight.
Right, exactly. It's like, this was Fa, and it was not Bleach. But you know, you're really, at this point, you've been part of like these two huge franchises. I mean, because Call of Duty is Call of Duty, like that doesn't need to be explained. But Bleach is pretty fucking huge too. Like,
you know what's funny about Bleach is that I was told that, hey, I was given that audition for that role, and I go, oh, okay, and I booked it, and I was like, oh, cool. I didn't know.
You had no idea.
I had no idea, and that was the week, I think, after that the game came out, so I was already kind of just getting all this attention as Alejandro Vargas. And then all of a sudden, I started to get this attention for Bleach, and I had all these fans who were following me because of Bleach. They have no idea what the hell Call of Duty was or cared about it. They
Anime
just said,
fans are rabid, son.
Yeah, they are, man. and then I was like, oh, and I'm really glad that happened too, because I was like, wait a minute, there's such a huge fan base for this. I'm not going to let these people down. So not that I wasn't going to take it seriously, but I just paid a little bit extra care, TLC, and attention to it because of that reason. And of course, now it's something that is going to continue, and that it's like I'm just voicing that role from now on, respectively, because the last guy did an incredible job. But yeah, I'm honored, and
now you can never go to another Comic-Con again incognito. That's
well, you know what's great? You know what's great is that I've never been to a Comic-Con.
Any of them?
And I'm going for the first time with my brother Danny in July. So we're going to the San Diego Comic-Con.
Fuck you.
Which
all
is
right,
like
I say that
the
with
big
all
one.
the love in the world here. As somebody who invited you to the house I'm staying in, I say this with all the love. Fuck you. You're going to Comic-Con. Like, you went from going to none to going to the grandfather of all Mecca. Yeah, like, yo, I've been wanting to go since I was like yay big. I've been wanting to go to Comic-Con, and you've gone from 0 to 1,000.
Well, it's my brother who really, kind of pulled my arm, but I was like, you know what, sure, man. We're just going as guests. I don't have like a table or any signing or anything, but of course, I'm
you
really
do any panels or nothing?
No, not doing anything. Just kind of going there to meet all of my favorite voice actors, because that's like the voice actor mecca. You have all these people who are, I know that voice. voice. Well, they're all there, and I know their face because I'm, they're a voice actor as well. So I'm excited to do that. And I'm also excited to meet all the fans, just meet anybody. I've had people reach out to me and say, yo, I'm cosplaying as Alejandro. And I'm like, okay, well, let's see if that
you're
happens.
A cosplay now.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're gonna.
You've made it, sir.
Yeah.
Like that's the pinnacle. Like, because now, no. And let me be clear. I know you're the voice actor for the character in Bleach. But you've got double cosplay now, sir, because you got people going as Alejandro, and you've got, those anime fans go and cosplay too. So you've made it like to the nth degree as far as comic cons are concerned.
Yeah.
That is insane.
And it's awesome, man. And I love meeting fans. I think Comic-Con, we've always thought that like people who do cosplay, a lot of people will say, well, that's so weird. People will dress up and all these crazy costumes and go, well, I professionally get into costume and play pretend. That's what I do. I'm an actor. So I'm like, think all these cos people, these are like my tribe almost in a weird way. And
you're the lucky one that gets paid to do it.
Yeah,
let's face it, right?
I just get paid to do it. Yeah, same thing. I just take it to a scientific level. And yeah, man, I'm really excited to meet them and just to be part of that. And again, like, I'd be lying if I didn't say that it's not going to be as special my first time, because I am going as, after all the success of the Call
Baby's
of Duty.
first Comic-Con.
Baby's
first Comic-Con.
Pretty much.
The only advice I will give you is make sure you have hand sanitizer. Con crud is real. Because it's a pack space, a lot of people, it's very easy to get sick. So just be mindful of that. That's my only piece of advice I would give to anybody going to a con for the first time. Hand sanitizer is your friend.
Bubble suit. That's what I'm going to cosplay as.
I mean, if you've got a hazmat, hazmat man. I don't know if that's
Breaking
a thing.
Bad,
but there you go, Breaking Bad. See, that's why you're the actor. You know better than I what to show up as. So, I love that you said, you know the voiceover world, and I've always thought, to me, that's such an underappreciated acting gig. I think people just always kind of assume, and maybe it's a throwback to when, the cartoons, I don't know how old you are, but when I was growing up in the 80s, cartoon voices were not the best. For every Mel Blanc, you had a Joe Schmo, right?
Yeah.
Who was just kind of doing what they could. I mean, I'm not going to take away from the effort.
You had a million Joe Schmoes for every Mel Blanc.
Right. But it wasn't at the level that I feel voice acting has turned into. And I'll say, I think it, on my personal level, I think it kind of started with Andrea Romano with, the work she was doing with the whole like Batman animated series and that entire DC animated, rollout of Superman, Justice League, etc. I think voice acting nowadays is so nuanced. What do you find are the challenges as a voice actor, because you've done several at this point, that maybe people don't realize, or that's even more challenging than putting on a mocap suit and doing Call of Duty?
Yeah. I think voice acting is honestly just as difficult to get into and work as a working actor as TV and film. A lot of actors, I know myself, thought the same thing. You get into voiceover and you think, hey, I'm going to make money. It's like saying, like, when I was in Miami and I was like, yeah, no, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to do TV and film. I'll do some soap operas first. I'll make it.
That's easy.
Let's do the soap star stuff. Yeah, no, that's not how it works. You say you're going to do voiceovers, you're going to do cartoon voices. People aspire to do cartoon voices, and the people who do them get paid very well, and they get called back to do them. So it is just like doing it in TV and film. You have to train, you have to take classes, you have to, you have to invest in your company and your business. You got to make a demo reel, and you got to send that out, and you got to put in the work, and you have to, just have the faith that it's going to happen as well. It is definitely a very cool world. It is, and it's really comfortable and sweet. I'm in a t-shirt and sweatpants and right now, and I'm dressed up. If I were to go to a voiceover session, yeah. I would be like, wait a minute, where's la trusa? Like, let's go así, pero like with sandals and everything. And of course, because you are, and during the pandemic, a lot of people thought, hey, you're not going to be able to find work. Honestly, my voiceover work, that's when I started to become full-time voice actor, was around that time, because you had all this stuff that was on Netflix that could have been, in my case, I do a lot of English dubbing, and they weren't going to record more stuff, because of the pandemic. They just put a halt on everything. So Netflix and all these other people said, hey, let's release these shows in English. Let's just dub them and get really good actors to really dub them well. Not like old school 70s Kung Fu style. Now they have really good directors, really good engineers, and really good actors to dub that sort of stuff. So there's little pockets of work like dubbing, like animation, like commercials in Spanish, in English, in audiobooks. There's all these different branches of the voiceover tree for work. But again, you have to just seek that work out, and you got to work hard like anybody else. You can't just expect that, hey, I'm an actor, I want to do audiobooks. Because there's guys that are doing audiobooks that they sound like the guy who reads Lord of the Rings to you, and you don't,
Yeah. No, and I think it's cool that it's funny that you say, oh, yeah, I'll just go do voiceover work. I'll just go do soap opera work. Where I think, what people don't realize is voiceover work, not anybody can just read something off a page. You have to imbue the personality with just your voice. You do not have the benefit of a costume, of your hands, of a walk, of a dance. I don't know, whatever. You really have to communicate everything. And again, I will say this, and I've said this on the show. We've had we've had former soap actors. That's harder too, because if you're lucky, they give you a second take maybe, and you got to film 6,000 scenes in like a day and a half.
Soaps?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's ridiculous. So, like, when people say, the mentality, like you were saying, like, soap opera, that's easy. Everybody can be on a soap opera. It's like,
no way.
No, because aside from having to be good at what you do, just as an actor, you got to be able to, like, do it quick. So it's not just doing it well. It's you got to hit the mark and go and keep going, because you've still got to film 6 months worth of shit in the week,
It's crazy.
I
was on set for a soap a few times. And it was so fast. Everything moves so quickly. I remember they get in there. Okay, get in there. Do your thing. We're going to set up. All right, now act. Do it. All right, you're done. I go, wait. Huh? Hi. I'm done?
Yeah, I sneezed in that take.
I don't even know what I said. Wait a minute. I don't even think I got the line right. No, you're good. Go. And that's how it is. So it's super quick. But, soap actors, I would imagine that it's kind of cool to go in there and go, that's like a 9-to-5 acting job, However, I can't sit still in one place for too long. So I have, I'm already I not that I want to leave Alejandro Vargas, but I'm already looking for the next guy, because it's like I just need to keep moving. And
that's also the reality of your business, though.
Oh, yeah. No, I couldn't keep it. When I was younger, I couldn't keep a job for very long not because I was a poor worker, I just get bored, man. So that's why I'm an actor too. Yeah. I got to just keep moving from character to character, personality to personality.
So, all right. You mentioned New World. You mentioned FIU. So take us back to young Alancito. When did you realize this is what I want to do and that this is what I could do? Because it's one thing to want to do something, right? I want to fly. I can't fly. It's just not real. What was that moment? Because, you went to New World. So I'm thinking pretty young. You thought to yourself, this is a craft. This is something I want to pursue.
Yeah, I was always just entertaining my family, like a lot of actors, a lot of performers. They're just, I was the kid who was like, where's the Spider-Man costume in April? And he'd throw a rat around. I used to run around, and as a little kid, man, 4 years old in calzoncillo, tidy whities, with an Indiana Jones leather whip that was given to me, a hat, and boots. And I was just walking around a 4-year-old in calzoncillo, whipping my abuela and abuelo. And as dangerous as that may seem,
I was gonna say,
kid, yeah, I know.
That was a little, maybe they should have taken the whip away from you.
The parental figures, right?
Yeah.
So that essentially kind of just that need to just kind of perform and play pretend. And I was always playing with action figures and, funny enough, making my own little voices and making little movies. So it wasn't until 6th grade that I had the opportunity to go to Southwood's, I forget the full name, Southwood Center for the Arts. Study. Southwood is a magnet school. It's a magnet junior high. Okay. And I forgot exactly where it is, but it's basically half elective, half magnet. So they have drama, they have dance, they have music. And yeah, I did, you do 3 hours of your acting, drama.
Sounds like fun.
So it was great because at the time I didn't know that I wanted to be an actor. I just knew that I liked acting and I was doing it there.
So your parents encouraged it?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay, because that's
100%.
I mean, the fact that you went to the magnet school, right? That means that somebody, your parents at some point had to sign off, right? Yeah. This wasn't you just doing a play at your neighbor's, backyard. That amazes me, by the way. And that your Cuban parents were like, el niño va a ser actor.
Yeah, and what's funny is that they wanted me to go to a good middle school. So the one that I, was supposed to go to, I guess it wasn't that good.
What area did you go in?
Country Walk.
Oh, that's right.
But my cousins had they had really bad experiences of getting their shoes stolen at the middle school I was supposed to go to. Yeah. So I didn't go. My mom was like, why don't you go somewhere else? And I was the one who told them, hey, these people came to my elementary school and they do acting. I want to do that. So it was originally me that told them, hey, I want to, and my mom was like, yeah, of course. So I auditioned, I made it. And 3 years later, New World said, hey, this is the next step. And I knew that New World was big because it was,
respected. Yeah.
It's respected. Yeah. And I know that the other actors around me felt the same way. And when I got accepted, I was like, hey, maybe I do have something. So then I just never stopped from there, man. I went to FIU, did theater, and knew that I was always going to come to Los Angeles. So I didn't.
So LA was always the goal.
LA was always the goal. Yeah. I had thought about studying elsewhere in a different college, but I had a scholarship to FIU. They were giving me money. And I was like, yeah, whatever. I'll get this piece of paper from mom. And of course, I met so many great people at FIU and the professors, and it was exceptional. So, but yeah, I did exactly what I said I was going to do and moved out.
And you've been here now 13 years.
13 years, 2010.
Wow. And what would you say is the biggest difference that you've experienced being out here compared to Miami?
Okay. We were talking about this earlier.
Estamos entre familia. Like,
Estamos entre familia.
It's only a couple thousand listeners.
Everybody that's listening, chill out. I got Maiden Day tattooed on my arm.
His
I'm from
bona fides are
Miami.
not in question, caballero, okay?
With that being said, everybody in Miami, calm the fuck down.
Blanket statement.
Yes, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because in Los Angeles, everybody is chill. Everybody's way more calmado. Everybody's just lo cogen suave aquí. Whereas they don't have to remind themselves to cogerlo suave. In Miami, you hear that all the time because nobody's doing it. So much aggression in Miami. And look, I get it. Like, when people get out of Miami and go to Los Angeles or go somewhere else, they're like, it's like take a deep breath. They realize that they're in it. Because I get aggressive when I'm in Miami, too. I get in
So you feel the switch. Like,
I feel the switch, not as much as before, because I understand that I switch. So I tell myself, I'm not going to switch.
Okay.
But yeah, there's that energy of aggression in Miami. It's a Caribeño thing, I guess. I don't know, man. There's
so much heat.
So much heat, bro.
The humidity.
I'm not talking about the Miami heat. No, yeah, no, I don't know what it is, bro. But it's
La humedad no pone mal.
Yeah. So yeah, man. So that's definitely the big difference in Miami. Traffic sucks both ways. Miami sucks. You know, again, the aggressive drivers out there, they don't make it.
Yeah, at least
easier.
traffic here, it sucks, but the people seem to be nicer in traffic.
Yeah.
So it helps.
Yeah, it's a little bit better. But oh man, I cannot go on without saying how much I miss the Cuban food in Miami. That always has my heart. And
well, you're a croqueta aficionado.
Oh my God, I'm a croqueta aficionado.
I mean, we met at Croqueta Palooza. Like, again, talking about bona fides, right? Yeah.
And you know, my parents always say stories of how my dad used to sit me at the counter of Versailles and feed me croquetas, multiple croquetas as a baby. So
I've
been eating them. Yeah, I mean, of course. I've been eating them since day one. And so that's one thing that definitely LA, I wish had, is not just Cuban food, but just Cuban culture, man. You know, just like I miss my people. I miss my family. I miss all you aggressive ass people. You guys are my primos. That's the thing, you know. That's even with all that aggression, bro.
That's why we call our listeners pero primos.
Bro.
It's such a catch-all term, right?
Yeah,
it's like a primo can be somebody who you've known for years. It could be somebody you met last week. It's just when it hits, it hits.
What's funny is when I meet Cuban people out here, that's how it is. We're like, yo, primo. And even sometimes people from Miami that are like, I have a friend of mine who's Colombian, and from Miami, and when it's like we're primos when we see each other. We're like, oh, bro, what's going on? Hey,
there's Cuban and there's Miami.
Yeah,
there's 305, but it's so funny you say that because it's a thing, and I was having a conversation with a friend of mine he's not from Miami, but he lived in Miami for a long time. And he's like, I don't understand the 305 thing. It's like, you know, we do 305 day. We're 305 till we die. It's like, nobody in New York is being like, yo, I'm 212. Like, it's not a thing up there. But you have to get it. If you get it, it's 305 till I die. I mean, it's there in the sentence.
Funny you say, I should have worn it too. I almost wore a shirt that it's like a Flanagan shirt, but it's Flanders, and it says 305 till I die.
I have that shirt.
Of
course, I have that shirt from 305 Pride. He's a friend of the show.
I almost wore it today. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah.
But there are pockets out here.
Yeah.
There are pockets of Cubans, and like I heard, like back when the protests during the July 7th thing, you know, I heard there was people out here, so it exists, which is very comforting to know that, you know, no matter where we go in the world, there's primos out there,
of course,
somewhere that you can, you know, congregate to and who understand the insanity that is our upbringing.
There's a I think they do it every year. There's a Cuban day at Dodger Stadium. There's like a Cuban game. I
don't think they do it anymore. I don't think they're doing it anymore. No. We can talk about that off air.
Man,
yeah. It was a thing for the longest time.
It was awesome too. Yeah.
And because I asked about it actually because we were coming out, I was like, oh, by chance is it whatever, and they were like, no.
It was a party,
and I was like, okay, I'll ask more questions later.
They would have like a stage, a festival.
Yeah, it was
I
a whole
remember
thing.
Back when Yaciel Puig was playing, It was a party, man. It was like he would be up on stage dancing, having beers, and I'd be like, "Isn't he about to play like in 2 hours?" Super Cubano, of course.
That's how good he is. He does not need to prep. Damn it!
I think he won that game too. Yeah, he made a home run for sure.
I couldn't play that game sober, so he's already leaps and bounds ahead of me, bro.
Yeah.
So what is next for you? I mean, I know you're out here, you're thriving, you know, and I know you probably even hate that question. All actors probably hate that question. Like, well, what's next? Because it's like, bro, I'm still enjoying, you know, the awesomeness that was the role. But you know, what do you see? Even if it's not professional, like, what do you feel you're going next? You know, what's the Alain trajectory?
Yeah. So definitely I'm gonna start doing more TV and film. That was always the goal out here. Things slowed down.
Now there's a writer's strike.
Now there's a writer's strike. There's a writer's strike, but you know what? That doesn't mean that the right people can't still see you. There isn't stuff being written, but when that stuff is written, you want to be one of the people that gets in the door. So right now that Call of Duty is hot. Right now that my operator or my character's been released. I mean, I keep telling this new manager that I'm working with, like, hey, if you Google Call of Duty, first face you'll see right now for the next few weeks is me. So make sure that you are constantly telling people about that, just so that I can better promote myself, my business. And when you know your worth, you know your worth.
I was gonna say, you sound just very like business savvy, and I wonder how many people in the acting, you know, industry understand that the way that you seem to, because there's the love of the art, but at the end of the day, it's a business, and you just kind of seem to like understand that element of it as well.
Yeah, well, because people can become the greatest. It's like I look at acting a lot like sports. You know, you can become the greatest athlete in the world. You can be the Michael Jordan of basketball, but if you don't play professionally, and if you just play in a court in your la casa, nobody's gonna know that you're that great, or you're not gonna be able to play those games that you deserve to play. So I work really hard on my skill and on the art, and that at the end of the day is number one. Like, it's not the looks, it's not the muscle, it's not anything. It is the acting and the emotion and the experiences that you've had in your life that you bring to your art as a visual artist would, as a musician would, and definitely as an actor would. But at the same time, you know, you have to have that business sense, and you have to be relentless when it comes to it, because everybody else is trying to do it, and those that sometimes have the better business sense, they're going to be the ones that work. And when you're sitting at home wondering why the guy who is working your character is not as good as you, or you're one, and you're thinking, and there's nothing wrong in thinking that. There's nothing wrong in you thinking, hey man, I'm good, I work hard, I need to be up there. And you know what? That's great, because he'll still be up there, and you have your piece of the pie too. It's not the same one. So you need to just get in there, muscle your way in, and in a few years, you can be like, yo, this guy did it, man.
Well, sir, you're already doing it.
Oh, thank you.
And, you know,
much.
And to your point, you know, he can have his piece of the pie, you'll have a piece of flan, and everybody will be happy, right? Okay. Why you got to bring up things that I can't just walk out the door and get here in Los Angeles? Why? Pásame sufrir. Is that the problem?
Hey, I can't get it ever here. You're at least going back, and you can get as much of it when you want to.
All right. I'll take back my statement then. Fine. But oye, man, like, again, legit, thank you so much for coming out here. I know you're probably ridiculous busy. We always say here, it's like, you know, yeah, we're just gonna need like half an hour. And before we even started recording, we had realized the half an hour had passed of just literally having coffee and talking shit, before even starting. So I really do appreciate you taking the time, you know, to just come out here and meet with us. And I know there's more coming from you, but I will say that what you've put out so far is so, you know, it just demonstrates that, you know, a kid from Miami can dream and actually achieve goals. And I really do hope that more and more people continue to look up to you and see that evolution, because, you know, you're not to use the term, you know, you're not a Nepo baby. You're not, you know what I mean? Like, you literally showed up here, I'm assuming, with, like, you know, 2 suitcases and a dream, right? As they used to say. And, you know, you're doing it. You're kicking ass, bro. So thank you for doing it on behalf of, you know, all us back in Miami.
Of course, man. Thank you, brother.
Pero Let Me Tell You is co-hosted by Darian Borges and Ismaeliano, produced by Ismaeliano, and our theme, Pero Let Me Tell You Freestyle, is composed by Michael Angelo Lomlaplex, the official gay guy. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes.